In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, Paul tells us, he said to me, that's God said to him, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast in my weakness, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore I am well content with weakness, with insults, with distress, with persecutions, with difficulties, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Paul says that God's grace is sufficient for him, for when he is weak, it's then that he becomes strong. In Matthew chapter 5, in the Beatitudes, Jesus said, Matthew 5:5, "Blessed are the gentle, the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." The word that's used there is a really interesting word. It's the word praus in Greek, and it carries with it the meaning of gentleness, weakness, but it's got an interesting background. It's the word that is used to describe a horse that has been broken and trained. So a horse that is untrained, of course, is a bucking bronco and a wild thing that is full of power and full of fury and practically useless. But when a horse is properly broken in and trained, it becomes a useful animal and a thing of great power and a great beauty and pleasure. And so when Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," he's talking about this quality of where a person is powerful but has been disciplined and brought under submission to the one who's leading it. And in this case, the ones who are meek are the ones who have submitted to God and are under God's control, God's leadership, and so they follow the leading of God. So here where Paul says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness," he's using the same word, and he's talking about the fact that when we submit to God, when we come under his direction and control, that we are given strength, we are given discipline to carry through. He said there was a thorn in the flesh that was given to him in this passage. Some people say that was a sickness. Some people say that was a person who was persecuting or hounding him, some sort of situation. But 3 times he asked the Lord to take it from him, but God said, no. I'll show you that in submission to me, my grace will be sufficient to you, and that you'll be finding that your meekness, that your weakness is your strength. And so he says, well, if that's your will, if that's what is good, then I will submit to the circumstances and lean on your strength so that it can carry me through. Perhaps you're facing something today that is a thorn in the flesh, something that pokes and pricks at you, something that, a stone in your shoe that just irritates you, someone or something that just won't go away, that is there and is causing you difficulty and distress. God says that your great strength is this, that if you rely on me, you rely on my grace, that my grace, my goodness will be sufficient for you, and I will carry you through the situation, and I will teach you to be self-controlled and restrained. that you will actually become a person of great character, because you will be a person of meekness. And where you could be violent and aggressive and lash out, you will be controlled like a well-trained horse. And so you will learn to walk my way. You will learn to deal with things God's way. And His grace will carry you through. His grace will be sufficient for you to help you through the situation. Father, I pray for any who are listening today who are just struggling with a person, a situation, words that have been spoken, the world at large, and the difficulties we find ourselves in. And Father, they would find that your grace is enough. That they would submit to your pleasure and your goodwill, and allow you to teach them to be controlled, not self-controlled, but God-controlled, and meek, and walk with you, and that your grace would be sufficient for them to carry them through. Amen.